So anyway, so if you would just tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your story?
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Please, let's do this the right way. So before we really get started, we want to offer a couple of ground rules. If someone asks a question, they get a follow-up question to the answer. And then if they're not going to move forward with an answer or a follow-up, just let us know. But we want to give everybody the space to talk, everybody space to breathe, have some time to form what they're going to say, and not get rushed because we've got an hour. I've got an hour right now, and so let's just breathe a little bit. And I want to say, first of all, I'm incredibly intrigued by this whole interaction. Based on what Susan has said, you have made claims that we're very interested in, but we want you to help us to know that it's real. We have to know this is real. We have to vet you because our credibility is on the line. So we are going to remain extremely skeptical and objective, and I think it's incumbent upon you to prove your claims. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how this all came about, how you met Susan, or how your relationship is with Susan, and how you're going to tell us, what's going on. I don't know what else to say. So go ahead. Yeah.
How about you two starting for a brief introduction, because I don't know you two from Adam either.
Right.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, my name is Tom Keiffer. I'm the kind of the leader of the project, if you will. I started Free People of the Cosmos about 4 years ago. It was mainly just a YouTube channel for regurgitating other videos. And it just kind of sat out there for a while. And then I wrote a science fiction novel. I think that's Susan coming in.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Susan.
Hi. Are we all here?
We're all here.
Yep, this is Tim. Hi. Good morning or good afternoon.
Sherry's on too?
Sherry's on with us as well. She was just asking us for a little bit of an introduction about us. It's all about, we don't know each other, so we're just kind of doing a little thing. So I was just explaining, I wrote a science fiction novel that didn't really go very far. And then I started working with a friend of mine in California about the same time who had a radio show where he interviewed leading ufologists, people, the big names, Dr. Greer and Linda Moulton Howe and a bunch of other people. And I was basically just the tech guy helping him run the show. And I'd chime in once in a while. They asked me to, and they really wanted me to co-host, but I just didn't feel that that was the moment I needed to do it. So I just basically helped John out, and I got a few videos of his on my YouTube channel. And then things changed. Tim wanted to get involved, and we actually turned this thing into a full-blown 501(c)(3), an LLC. Something scratching. Something was scratching.
I'm sitting out. I'm traveling. So I'm in northern Minnesota traveling. I'm outside a flea market, and so the Down syndrome child I take care of, and she's traveling with me. Inside scene. I'm outside, so you might hear traffic in the background occasionally.
Okay. Yeah, it was like a static noise. I couldn't figure out if it was my end or what was happening. But anyway.
And Sherry, how about on Sunday? Will you be in a more quiet place?
Yeah, I will. I should be. Yeah, I can pick a quiet place before I start traveling or something. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So anyway, so then it migrated to this full-blown project, and we started changing the focus within the last couple of months of really starting to do our own ongoing call where people could call in and we could start to connect with people. And then, Susan a couple months ago had taken the reins of the local meetup group, and so she introduced me to some people Sunday. Well, after that, I told Susan that I want to get this group Crop Circle validated. I want to get the project Crop Circle validated, which by that I mean they're hearing what we're saying and they're responding back with a visible sign that nobody could contest. If it shows up in England and I get a picture, that's what I was looking for. Well, that was Sunday night, and Susan told me, she said, write it down, put it on the website that this is what you're looking for. Tuesday, the guy that we're going to have on, he contacted me. He doesn't really know what's going on with he's never been to the website. He doesn't know anything other than he had met me about a year ago on This Guy in California. And so I wanted to contact him. I actually wrote his name down Friday or Saturday that I was going to contact him about this. Never contacted him, never sent him an email, nothing. Tuesday, he reaches out to a mutual friend in London, and we reconnected, and I said, Robert, this is synchronicity. We've got to get you on the call. So he said, happy to do so. So he's going to be kind of the main guest. This guy, have you checked out his website or any of his information? I think this guy's the real deal. So that's who we are and what we're doing. And we decided that we were going to put out the intergalactic 911 call for help. And that's what, I don't know if that makes sense, if you want more information about that, or...
Hey, Tom, can I add some things here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so for Sherry, it is Sherry, right? I want to make sure we got names right.
Very
now.
lucky okay. And I'll tell people if I get in trouble for drinking too much wine, my last name's Faith, I can get out of trouble. But I don't even drink, so that's not a problem.
Oh, okay. So awesome. So, it's really great to hear that you have a high energy. I really, that is extremely awesome. Because I think if I can add to what Tom was saying, part of this whole thing came about from Tom writing his book on Two and the Collectors, which I had kind of summarily dismissed as not that great. I wasn't that big of a fan. I said, this is just too crazy. Nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to look at it. The concepts in here are just too far off the cliff for most people. They're just not going to sink into it. So then I started having my own journey that was kind of pushing me out of the technology business. I'm in the software engineering business, and I've been systematically being pushed out of the market by guest workers. So in that regard, my cynicism towards the whole corporate track has just accelerated, and getting involved with Tom is kind of like the more that I unravel, the more I see that there's a bigger place for me here than where I was. And in that regard, Tom and I have talked a lot, and he, talked about Two and the Collectors, and I said, well, what's up with this breakaway civilization stuff that I heard about, how our government has been doing these breakaway civilization projects clandestinely, getting people off planet, secret space program, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm saying, wait a second. That's I don't have access to that. What if we had an open access forum where we set the table and say, look, this is what we are looking for. This is our tribe. This is our logo. This is our brand. This is our flag. And this is what we're looking for. And we're putting a stake in the ground and saying we are free people of the cosmos. We are sentient beings that have our own divine right of free will. And we declare ourselves free people. We are not bound by any civilization here on Earth other than the fact that we have to follow the law. So we are living by the law, we're living within the law, and we're advocating peace. But we also realize that we don't know who to trust. Our trust situation in this country, around the planet, has deteriorated into nothing. So we don't know what pillar of civilization to trust, and we're saying, fine, we don't trust any of you, we give up. We want to put a call out to our higher brothers and sisters out throughout the solar system and through the galaxy, through the universe, wherever you come from. If you're into peace, love, and all those things, we want to talk to you, and we want you to help us. 2 priorities. 1, heal the sick. If you want to do signs and wonders, heal the sick. Show us something that says you're real. We need the signs and wonders. We've got plenty of people that contact us regularly that are quote-unquote on the inside, and we don't know who to believe. So that's why we're putting this talk to you today. If you are who you say you are and what you are and all that sort of thing, we're all in. We're your best friends, but we have to make sure that you're for real. So that's all I'm going to say.
And by the way, you're not recording this.
I think we are.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yes, we are. This is Tom. Yes, we're. I knew something good would come out of this today, so I was muted. I wanted to let Tim talk, and so that's what I'll do whenever.
Oh, okay.
So let's let Sherry. Right. Let's let Sherry take the floor and just whatever is on your mind, Sherry. How do you feel, react, etc. Just
I'm going to go on mute.
There's no wrong answers here. We just want to get to know you, so that's what we look at.
Okay. All right. Well, I started this journey picking a family that I should have had a V8 instead. But anyway, it was there for a reason. So since I was 5 years old, in retrospect, because around the age of 50, of course, I've had spiritual things my whole life. First one I would ask at 8 years old, why are all the Jews going to hell? God, my God's a loving God. And then the next one I can think of in 6th grade, teacher said you could ask any question you want. I said, well, what's beyond the universe? She couldn't answer that one. Okay, so I'm different. And in about the age of 50, I'm going to jump there. There's some things in my 20s, I was said, okay, God, I'll report for duty. Yeah. Anyway, so it's a funny story, but it's a more personal story after that. So I'm going to jump to 50. At 50, I says, okay, God, because I've been doing different things to that point, but pretty mild, like I see accidents before they happen and different things like that. I said, okay, God, give me all the lessons I need to learn because I'm not coming back here because I didn't like the earth. I looked at life through rose-colored glasses, mostly when I was younger, which the pro of that is it brought out the best in other people. And the other advantage is I think I was in that state because otherwise I would have exited, and I agreed to do some things at this later age because I'm 68 now. So about a year after that, I said, okay, God, I got a little wiser. I said, I don't mind learning my lessons, but make them easy, please. But that's when I started more of my passion of its health. And so that's when I started, in my 30s, I started therapeutic touch, Reiki, 50s Reiki, quantum physics, spiritual repatterning, which is adjusting people's body just energetically, SRT, which is clearing the Akashic records. It's also includes cranial sacral, homotoxicology, and those kinds of things. And after that, what is that? Of course, I teach people how to get their yeses and nos through their pendulum body, because we're all divine human beings. Everybody can do what I can do if they choose to. I may have more experience in previous lives than other people have. Like in Reiki, take for example, they used to have level up to 15. I was 13 in a previous life. So if you were a doctor in a previous life, you're going to bring in those skills. Depends on what skills. So again, everybody can do what I can do. It just depends on how many lives they lived and those kind of things. And I teach people about that because it's usually over 200,000 lives. So I tell them how they accomplish that. One is parallel lives, and so it depends on how many people you're going to be working with, is how many parallel lives you're usually running. And also that you can come in to observe as a spirit and not live a life. So just come in and observe like the birth of Jesus Christ. So that's part of your Akashic record. So, yeah, so it just becomes part of your history, and that counts as a lifetime. Although you won't. And
Sherry, when did you start connecting with the term Arcturian? How long ago did you know that?
I was around 2000 also. David Miller, who has connected all the crystals around the U.S. and around the world. And, so definitely connecting there to Arcturian.
And what about they talk a lot about in the book, and the collectors shuttling people off the planet and to other planets, and you kept mentioning shuttles too. So
in my parallel life, my first time when I was about 50-ish, one of my mentors, she told me, "Oh, you're an ET. Do you mind if I introduce this other person I'm counseling with so she can see an ET?" Oh, sure. So I knew I was a pretty high percentage extraterrestrial. And then it was confirmed again with Robert Dexter, who channeled for 20 years the SRT stuff that I do. And he says, well, you realize you're pretty much ET and you reigned on Venus and yada, yada. Okay, this is good to confirm that. Because the first time I heard it, I thought maybe in a previous life I was Starship Commander. And he said, no, you are in this lifetime. So in my parallel life, I've fine-tuned, you're always gathering part of the puzzle of things when you need to know them. So I've identified now that I'm actually and that fits me to a T because I'm such an organizer and connector. I handle the shuttles that come off the main ship that's been around the world since 1993, Ashtar Command, and I'm the one that handles the shuttles to coordinate people coming in and out from the Earth plane and coming to the shuttle to be rejuvenated, sent to another planet where they want to go back or back to the Earth, and sometimes that can be milliseconds that they just come up to get upgraded or whatever they need to be done. So that's what I'm doing right now. And my understanding is there are about 2 million of the people. Go ahead.
Sherry, this is Tom. I didn't mean to cut in, but I do mean to cut in. I'm sorry. So you mentioned, you need to, I guess the curious part for me is a new concept that I wasn't aware of. I'm fully aware of reincarnation and incarnation where people, and then Susan has talked about the walk-in aspect. You're talking about parallel lives. So this is, for me, this is a new one. I hadn't heard this one. I would be curious how you know this. How does that work?
The first, there's a movie out called What the Bleep, and that's the first one that came out that started talking about parallel lives. So rather than me spending a lot of time explaining it, because a lot of us are working in the molten state, going there are 99 portals, and working in the molten state to create a new universe and those kind of things. And the scientists, the physicists right now are finding out that with our Earth plane, there is maybe a black hole. Yeah, I felt like that. We call them portals. But anyway, so many of us are living parallel lives and serving in other capacities. And when I find somebody that's too exhausted, they're usually working more than 9 portals because that will exhaust the human body. So
it's interesting you say the mothership began in 1993 circling the Earth, because that's when my walk-in thing happened, was in 1993. So I always like to connect to that year. Like, when did this happen for you? I'm always asking people, and a lot of people are saying 1993.
Now, I believe you're speaking about Ashtar Sharan. There's a website that relates to that. They have a diagram of the spacecraft and everything out there. It's just utterly another phantasmagorical website that it's almost so fantastic. I'm like, okay, are these total delusions, or you're saying there's some fact to that whole story?
Yes. Probably the most advanced soul I've met in this lifetime is Patricia Diane Cota-Robles. So let's see, what is her website?
Yeah, she wrote The Heart. I have some of her books. There's one.
Sorry, I could email that to you.
The Next Step, which is a great book about reunification with the presence of God within our heart.
Wow. So yeah, I'm trying to understand this parallel life. So does everyone have parallel lives? Is that standard, or is that something that is like a special
I always check with them, because I do not only the checking with the yeses and nos, I also quantify, like how many do I have? I know I have 5 at this point. If people want to know, I can usually pull up how many they have, but I teach them to find out how many they have.
Well, that would be just an interesting topic on its own for another call. We could actually do a call for that. That would be amazing. I'd even like to find out. So that's something I want to find out. I want to get as much information as I can from the esoteric side of things, and the more information we get from different sources, then that lends more credibility to the information, or at least it leads us in a vector towards the truth. That's really, I think, where Tim and I are at. So that we'd really love to do more on that. Now, I want to explain something to you and Susan too. What we want to do Sunday is, I don't know if you had a chance to hear the promo that we put out yesterday.
I didn't, because I was preparing for this, and I'm doing a Heal the Healers conference next weekend. So, and then we have the iridology conference in the middle of October. So I'm a mover personality in this life anyways. I'm always got, but anyway, I intended to, but ran out of time. So,
well, it's an interesting turn of events that all of this came together. That's how I look at it. And I'm trying to say, okay, I see something a little bit more than chance happening here. So there's a reason why we wanted to meet you. We wanted to kind of vet you out a little bit, find out where your head was at. And so what I'm hoping for Sunday is that something's going to click with you, that maybe you can tell us something later, or that you may see something happening at that time that is going to be, I think, either a validation of what Robert's talking about, or a maybe there's going to be a really good exchange. So I want you to feel comfortable speaking with Robert. The guy is very humble. He's an amazingly humble creature. And the stories that he has related, if you get a chance between now and Sunday to look at his website, the stories, I don't know if you're familiar with the Corey Goods story or any of the stuff of David Wilcox. This is right in that same genre. The stories that he relates are so out there, I know that you're not going to have a problem with it. This may be there may be an affinity with you two on some things. That's what I'm looking for. Or Susan as well. You may have an affinity. There may be something that is revealed, something comes out. So this is more than just show business. This is a kind of a meeting of the minds, and we're sharing it. Is what we're doing.
Yeah, and I just want to add something to that. If I can just interject for a moment. Credibility is everything for us right now as we are starting this project. So as much as we want to believe everything we hear and believe everything we see, we're starting to understand that there are projections that are not real. There are mind controls that are limiting our ability to perceive and understand. And there are a lot of attention seekers.
People that have 500. Yeah, then you're going to be more vulnerable and dependent on time and day, and that's why even with SRT, before they are qualified for a counselor or whatever, they have a team of people that go through the vetting and making sure that this person is capable.
So I just want to ask a follow-up question. Let me ask a follow-up question, and then I'm going to turn this back over to everybody else. And this is Tim, by the way. So in the spirit of true peace and love and all of the good side of life, we want so desperately to believe everything you're saying. Believe me, I'm hanging on, wanting that crossover moment where I know that what you're saying is real. But I want to ask you a request. If you are who you say you are, is there a possibility that we could be vetted for further proof, or what is the process?
I'm not sure if I'm understanding your question.
Okay. I hate to be a doubting Timothy or a doubting Thomas.
Everybody should be.
But I guess between Tom and I just explained something about our twinness. I sincerely believe, and somebody's going to have to probably vet this for me over time. Maybe it's a wrong assumption, but I believe I was brought into this world to be a protector for Tom, because Tom is a lot more sensitive to some of this stuff than I am. And I believe I was brought to be his kind of a counterbalance, away team, if you will, to be there for him. And to, just be the other side of the equation, help him see some things that he may or may not see, and he's helping me see things that I may or may not see. So we make a really good team. But we also realize that as much as we want to believe, we're just hanging on by a thread. We need something to tip it over the top. And if you can provide that conduit of further engagement with the real connection, however that works, tell us what the process is. Talk to your people.
And the other one's Tim, is that
correct?
Yep,
I'm Tim, and the other one's Tom. Tell us what the process is. Tell us how we get more into this connection with your people. If we're willing to do what people want us to do on the other side, but we also believe that as much as we want to take things in a measured way, the buildings are burning down and time is running out. So we have the urgency of now, and we would love it if you could help accelerate that process. So, maybe you and Robert, when you get on the Sunday call, will make a connection.
She was just getting to that, Tip. She was just getting to that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna get out of the way again, and I really appreciate your coming online and all that. So I'll get out of here and I'll let Tom talk again, and Susan.
Well, I always ask if it's okay to even talk to you all in the first place. So I got a yes on that. Susan I trust, of course, because we've had some great conversations. So, but you always have to use discernment, set up the boundaries, learn how to get your yeses and nos, quantify them, and have a group. Because if you've had a previous life that this person was, maybe you were in some kind of group. But I'm guessing your counterpart is empathic, and you're not. That would be maybe his first modality, because he has a different calling about feeling everything. And it's, with empathic people, if they haven't figured it out, is to use the violet flame and transmute the negative energies. For the people who came in more left-brained, not as heart-centered, and that would be me, you have to learn, you can do different modalities like tap your thymus and say, heart, teach my brain, heart, teach my brain. So there's just a number of different things people can try based on what they relate to.
And I have to add that you're going to have to accept that you're looking for proof, which a lot of people always are like, show me a sign, give me validation. And you're getting into an area where it's not up to us to show you validation and signs. It's going to be up to them when they want to do something, and they'll, hopefully start
I totally accept
communicating to you.
That's why we're saying
yourself.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Show us the way, give us the path, and we will follow it. But we don't have a lot of time. That's the problem.
Right. So
what I'm saying families are connecting. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is, instead of second guessing every single thing, start just listening, and then we all have the ability to discern. This sounds true to me. This, I don't buy this. That happens constantly to all of us, and that's where you're going to have to go with. You're just going to have to go with that.
Okay, so that's why I'm asking. This is Tim again. That's why I'm asking for. Here's the problem. The fireman comes to the house and says, "Wow, your house is on fire," and you're standing out saying, "Yes. If you don't put the fire out, we're going to be in trouble." So we're saying, yes, we appreciate the fact that you're a fireman and your house never burns down and you have all the answers. We're coming outside and saying, please help me put out our fire. Please take me to a place of rescue. And the fireman is saying, yeah, I really want to help you, but unless you are vibrationally perfect, I can't help you. So we are imperfect. We are low, whatever our vibrations are and all that kind of thing is where it is. And this is a very sick planet with a lot of sick people. And we may not be able to make this optimal track on our own. And that's exactly why we're making the call. We're saying, yes, we are in serious trouble. We don't have the answers. We need those that are off-worlders to come in and separate the kids on the playground.
Right, but they know this. They know so much more than you. They know why you're doing this. They've helped you put this all together. So you just have to start trusting now. It's already
I'm sorry,
You've
but
already begun the process.
I'm in the process, but I'm going to remain skeptical. It's just, I believe...
You can remain skeptical, but don't spend the whole conversation talking about that.
I'm not. I've actually not said very much. I'm just saying, explaining how I see this. That's all.
Okay, yeah, Tim, let them have the floor a little bit more, because I was starting to get some good information here, and they respect what you're saying, but there was something that Sherry was leading to in reference to understanding our next steps. So what did you feel would be next steps in making contact with your folks, the Ashtar Sharon, or whoever? What do you feel the next steps are for us?
Hello. Give me a minute. I don't know enough to... I just usually will speak of what I'm being channeled, and you pick what you want and leave the rest or prioritize it. I agree with Susan. Even when I clear people's Akashic records, I tell them, you're the healer, I'm only the trained facilitator, and you have to put your highest intent on this.
Okay. So
yeah, so as far as we all want to know what's happening next. When is it happening? All of that. But it's a process that they are in control of. This is what's next. We're going to help you do this next thing, and it's happening. Just because somebody's not above you saying on a microphone what is happening, you can see it's happening. We're having this conversation. You've got your
No, I understand.
We're having
and I know, yes, and I know you're directing that at me. And I've been very careful not to talk a lot. I've been listening a lot to everybody, including Tom and everybody. So I'm just trying to let you know that I'm open to the process. I just want folks on the other side to contact me, contact Tom in a very, I know this is one person telling us these things. But
okay, there's the burning bush.
Exactly, and I know that seems laughable to you, but you have to understand.
No, I'm just talking with you, not at you.
No, I understand, but it's one thing we have enough fiction in our lives that it's very difficult for us to know who to trust, and until I see, I gotta just. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to believe anything until I see the real results. And I'm doing my own meditations. I'm trying to do what I can to cleanse my life, get myself right. But I also...
And you're going to have to accept then that you're going to be in an observer position instead of somebody speaking. You're going to have to be just somebody watching.
I totally get that. Yes, I totally agree.
Okay.
Well, we're just having a conversation.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's maybe elaborate a little bit more on that, Susan.
Yeah. I'll stop talking.
Because otherwise, we'll just always be talking about, is this real? Is this not real? And believe me, you'll get validation drawn to you. You'll be shown books. You'll be shown messages, bumper stickers, billboards, music lyrics. There's all these kinds of ways that they definitely can communicate. They'll put songs in your head, and they'll line things up what's the word? Synchronicity, no, whatever. With synchronicity.
Synchronistically, yes.
Yeah. So instead of having, because that's our whole topic, is the unseen, and they're...
Well, okay, wait a second. That's your topic. And I'm not trying to be a jerk.
That's what the website is about, though. You're trying to contact the non-physical realm and trying to make them physical.
Okay. Yeah. Let's rewind a second. No, please. I need to have some time to ask about this. What we're trying to say is we need help, and we want to be in this plane of existence the guidepost to bring other people in to this process, whatever it is. We're still trying to figure it out. So that's why when we see something like this happen, where someone who makes certain claims, Tom and I grew up in religion, so our ability to accept a lot of things, we've already been given a lot of stuff. A lot of that stuff has proven not to be true. So I'm sorry if I'm somewhat of a doubter. I'm not brainwashed. I have rejected the brainwashing, and I'm sorry, but I
have a chapter. I'm writing a book, and I have a whole chapter on religion.
Yeah, you're trying to believe this while you're holding on to a guardrail on the edge of the cliff instead of just jumping off the cliff.
Trust me, I've already jumped off the cliff. Trust me, I'm already way off the cliff.
Yeah, but when the expression leap of faith comes into play, that in terms of just letting go of trying to get something concrete, it's not up to us to give you any proof at all. It's never going to be up to us. It's up to them when they want to.
Honestly, I beg to differ. And I'll tell you why. There have already been ETs in the past that were admonished for failing to get this done. Okay, let's just start with that. So what we're saying is, yes, as much as a lot of this is up to us to just believe, a lot of this is also up to the ETs to get their act together and move and stop battering around and saying, well, you're not at the right vibratory complex, you're not at the right stage of your life, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and we can't talk to you until you get to this right state. And to that I say hogwash. I say that you've already made contact with us to the wrong people who had absolutely no higher consciousness awakening or anything. You talked to our military, you were talking to the wrong people. There are people at that same vibratory complex as the military that are not military, people like us who are just as human as the military, and if you talk to us instead of them, that's what we want. We want you people out there in ET land, off-worlders, to start working with us here and now and not worry about our vibratory complexes and all this other kind of stuff.
They're never going to respond to anger or that tone.
But it's not anger. I'm just saying.
Okay, here. There was a guy I saw on Facebook yesterday. He was angry about the same way. And I thought to myself, and he was just really going on it was a lot more hard of a rant than what you're going with, Tim. And that frustration, they get it. I'm sure they get it. We get it. So I think you still have to reach out.
It has to come from both sides. You can't say that I can't talk to you if you don't speak my language. of higher consciousness, or you're not at a higher consciousness level yet, or whatever. I'm willing to accept certain things with that.
It's physics.
But I also,
it's physics. It's
I
not
understand.
belief. It's physics. Physics are vibratory levels. It's physics.
I get it. I'm so.
Well, then you're saying I'm sorry if I'm not at that level, but that's just physics.
No,
it's
that's
not judgment. It's physics.
Okay, so
that's interesting. I did not realize it was tied to physics because I saw it as something a little more esoteric.
Like, for instance, there was a guy who I forget it, Billy Burke or something like that. He's written many books about his contacts with the Pleiadians, and he's always said, you know, there's they have this beam that can come down from their ship and just scan over people, and who's ever at the right frequency or vibration, the beam, which is photon particles, would just lift them up because they are matching with the frequency. So if you're at a denser, lower vibration frequency, the photon beam just isn't capable physically of picking you up.
Wow.
And the Pleiadians, my understanding, were supposed to come here to help with these changes with the Earth, but they're very heart-centered. So they needed help from the Arcturians are less heart-centered, but more advanced technology. So they needed them to come in because we're in galactic wars all the time for protecting out there and here. But it's divine timing, and it's crystal ball, and there's too many elements changing constantly. But it's changing for the best, and there's so many miracles happening right now. So I'm just saying, hang in there. Keep your eyes open. Certainly, if you feel like you need to question things because you like to process things, whatever your style is, that's fine.
I think it's amazing what's happening, but I think maybe what I think Tim may be trying to say, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think it's kind of like the little children know that the house is on fire. They're not mature. They're not mature enough to really understand everything in life. They're still children, and humanity is this spoiled brat race that is self-destructing, and the children are lighting the curtains on fire, and we need to get out of the house. And that's really, I think, what this is kind of about, is that we know that we are of a lower vibration, but they're going to need it too.
Also another race directing those people to act in this way on the planet. There is other races involved.
Right. It's true.
And you two may both be ETs.
Yes, exactly. That's what I said.
It depends on, in fact, we all are. It's just a matter of percentages.
Yeah, and how much you have veils and how much you have forgotten. So you're frustrated because your veils are just that much thicker.
Well, if for what it's worth, I need you to know that there couldn't be somebody in this conversation more anti-religion than me, because Tom and I it was shoved down our throats. It was depressing.
Religion is man-made. I struggle with anything man-made.
I just want to share this with you right quick, and I promise we can go back and look at my amount of time of talking. It's probably not as much as people think.
Anyway,
but I believe that I have been given several opportunities in Christianity to get it over the tipping point to where I could go all in. I've had hands laid on me. I've had people try to make me allow me to speak in tongues. None of it ever worked. I embarrassed a preacher in front of thousands of people as he laid hands on me and said, speak in tongues. I said, nothing is coming out. What am I supposed to do? And he was embarrassed. And I said, well, I'm not lying to you. Nothing is coming out. I'm not getting it. So I have written off religion 100% as much as I can with my limited vibratory state, or whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't mean that I don't love people. That doesn't mean that I don't have compassion. It doesn't mean that I'm not sensitive. It doesn't mean that I'm some kind of lost child. In some sense, I guess Tom and I are. But, we are so willing to ride your train, you have no idea.
Hey, I got something. I have a book called God Calling, and it's written anonymously. It's a channeled book, and there's like a daily passage, like just a paragraph. And in the beginning, I read this book, each day one thing at a time, because it's like a direct link in the talking. So here's what I just flipped through. Now that this was 25 years ago I started, but I haven't looked at it in a number of years, but I started looking at it again. And the other night I opened this page just randomly, and this is what it says. It's titled Signs and Feelings. And so, I'm going to read this, but keep in mind this is channeling. And this is actually Jesus channeling, but here you go. It says, I am here. Do not need feeling too much. To ask for feeling too much is to ask for a sign. And then the answer is the same as that I gave when on earth. There shall no sign be given but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. And what I'm saying, that means if you don't know the sign of Jonas, there was an eclipse given to Jonas, and then he was swallowed by the whale for 3 days in darkness. That is what is being prophesied in the book of Revelations. 3 days of darkness is the sign, is what he's saying, the sign we're going to get. It might not be the crop circle. It's going to be the 3 days of darkness, which I'm expecting any day, like any week, any day, which it would happen if there was the crossing of planet X between the Earth and the Sun. And that's what's, as I said, told in the book of Revelations. So he says, veiled from sight to the unbeliever. To the believer, the veiling is only temporary. And we're talking about the veils that I mentioned. To be followed by a glorious resurrection. What does it matter what you feel? What matters is what I am, was, and ever shall be to you, a risen Lord. The feeling that I am with you may depend upon any passing mood of yours, upon a change of circumstance, upon a mere trifle. I am uninfluenced by circumstances. My promise given is kept. I am here, one with you, in tender, loving friendship. So that's what I was given when I started saying, you know, can you please just make a crop circle to the ETs. And the ETs are under a level of this, by the way. This is a higher level, this book, than the ET level. So the asking for signs, that's just, you know, all the time. Everybody wants proof. Nobody wants to believe anything. But you're going to have to suspend your disbelief in our conversations that are recorded on Sundays is what I'm saying, or you're going to lose a lot of listeners. You're going to have to just go with it. You're just going to have to trust and go with it.
This is Tom. Susan, this is Tom. I don't have a I don't want to be the protagonist. There is enough there that I do believe, and I think we're past the tipping point on evidence. So Tim and I really do. We're all in on this. But with every new story and revelation that's come out, we need to hear the story, and we kind of need to discern in our own hearts. So I'm not a protagonist. I'm not an antagonist. I think Tim has a little bit more of a harder, skeptical side to him, and so.
I'm not a protagonist. I'm simply saying that I think you made the best analogy, Tom, is that it's not just people coming out of a burning house, it's children. And for the fireman to stand there and say, well, because you're not an adult, I can't save you, and I can't save the children that are in the house burning. I'm sorry, but they're just not worthy until they get to the right vibratory frequency. And if that's the case, I don't want to talk to those people. Those aren't the people I want to talk to. I want to talk to the people that have been here before that talk to the wrong people here.
You're missing the fact that we have many lifetimes. Many, many, many lifetimes.
Okay, I'll take it.
One. It's
not
like
that.
We're being punished as children. It's a lesson that we wanted to have, to experience. We're here to experience this because we want it.
Oh, I'm experiencing a lot, believe me. I'm trying to just
Whether
reach you.
Whether it's death by fire or death by, anything. We chose that experience to have. We chose that.
Okay, but what I'm saying is if you're going to reach people that are not in tune with all of this stuff, there's going to have to be a message to children. Okay, you can't just give this message that says, "Well, sorry, we can't save you. You got to save yourself because you have to become an adult."
Children are actually coming in as part of the ET race already. That's why they're so technologically advanced, because
I don't want to be
I
don't want to just be saying yes and you be saying no, and you say no and then I say yes, and then so on and so forth. Let's agree that we agree, and we really do believe a lot of the stuff that's already out there. We believe it.
Well, let me ask you this, though.
Just because something comes my way, I have to discern. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. All right.
And I'll shut up.
Let me ask you this. You notice that there's everybody, all the adults talk about how the children come in already knowing how to work an iPhone and an iPad, right? That's common knowledge, right?
Okay.
I mean, you two are advanced beyond most adults, so maybe you're not getting this, but most of us have nowhere near the technological capacity, and that's why you're probably ETs.
Okay.
Because ETs have a lot with technology, and that's why all the little children now ask any adult who's not besides you two, you know, we don't know how to work anything, even myself, like even Sherry, right, Sherry? We're not on the technology end.
It has been, and I tell people this all the time, that the computer thing has been child's play for me, and it's been the same thing for Tim. It really,
that's actually proof that you've got part of that ET DNA.
Well, okay, so how do we find out more? How do we find out who that is?
Let Sherry respond to that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
that's what I
want to know. 3 things I want to say to you. First
of
all, the first one one of the times I can think of that I could have actually did if I wanted, I got up the wall and was fine to go back to heaven or wherever I wanted to go. And I looked back, and that's all I saw were even adults who were children. So everybody were children, and I'm thinking I cannot leave the children. That was one. On my book that I have on religion or churches, I haven't published it for 15 years because it wasn't ready, because I put all religions have missed the mark. I'm thinking I do not want to read or wear a suit of armor. I had to do that as a town manager, you know. That's why I haven't published it, and I also toned it down to saying your church may have missed the mark if. And then it's kind of like, you know, if you did this, and this, so they can identify it for themselves. But it's basically anybody that's away from unity consciousness has missed the mark. And all churches have all been kind of in that arena. So, but I let them discover that rather than saying you missed the mark kind of thing.
Oh, absolutely. We're in agreement with you on that. Absolutely. But let her keep going. No, but I want to ask the question.
The third story. The third story was about Jesus Christ. I was always angry at him. And as a child, of course, I didn't know much about the Bible and those kind of things. So I always felt inferior. Then I was blessed with living with alcoholics and those kind of things. So, and as I got older, what I realized, what came to me is Jesus Christ is, the Earth is one of the 40 hearth planets. Jesus Christ is in charge of it. This is the only planet that he had ever gone to till he ascended. And the reason I was angry is because I came in and observed his death, and I took on some of the essence of Mary Magdalene, who was angry at Jesus because she knew he could reincarnate and he didn't. So I took on some of that anger about Jesus Christ, but it took me a long time to put that puzzle together based on people that I was shown to talk to or listen to or whatever kind of stuff. So I understand the religion aspect, you know, especially when a lot of them were responsible for many of us being burned at the stake and yada, yada, yada in previous lives. It just adds to more stuff. But anyway, I hope that gives you additional perspectives to just...
It certainly does. It certainly does. And I would just want to ask the big question then. Based on your convictions, are we doing the right thing?
I don't know you well enough to say what's right or wrong for you, but you know yourself well enough. And it's a process, because I remember when I first had to look at myself through being married to an alcoholic, and if I could see everything that was really true there, I'd have probably, my eyes were opening slowly at that process. If it would have opened widely and immediately, I'd probably had a heart attack and died because I couldn't handle it. So your process is just perfect timing for you. You're asking for this help, so Susan and I are showing up in your lives, and other people, whoever they are, to get additional pieces of the puzzle to bring you to where you're supposed to be.
But Sherry, can you talk more about those shuttles again before you were cut off? Because that's where the disbelief began. But let's just go back to that, because I want to hear that little paragraph you said again.
Okay, it's just basically there's numerous shuttles, and I've had many assignments, like, and I'm trying to keep this brief because I know that time is of the essence. Sorry about that. So I used to identify the people who were in Atlantis that had created some of the problems. So what I would do is identify them and put them in a crystal, almost like you look in bubbles around them, bring them up to be re-educated and bring them back down. And then I says, God, because I have so many projects that I'm working on. I says, aren't there enough people awake now that can work on that? And they said, yes, because you're going to be really busy with shuttles. So I coordinate all the shuttles, the spaceship shuttles that come from the galactic, And the ship.
And maybe this, I understand now why they're saying, Tim was saying he doesn't believe what you're saying. You're not talking physically, right? You're talking in like another realm.
Oh yeah,
like while you're sleeping or dreaming, or it's not like a physical shuttle.
No, it's not physical. Me here right now. It's in the parallel life that I'm doing this stuff.
That's what I was curious about. How did you know that you had this parallel life going on? That's what I'm still a little bit puzzled about. That was just a curiosity for me. I'm just trying to understand that.
Well, I watched What the Belief first, and I kind of understood some of that, but you know, it was a process. And then I worked with two higher beings, or people that I was supposed to learn from, mentors. The first one told me that because I had no idea I was an ET, you know, and then such a high percentage of ET. So that was my second one. And then my third one was Robert Dexler, who had channeled in that the teachings on the spiritual repatterning and the SRT clearing of people's Akashic records, which is the soul's records from the time we were first incarnated, and the two things we cannot mess with are things they're supposed to learn in this lifetime, lessons, and free will. So,
and also, though, I want to just say, because I can tell what they're probably already thinking, you're not saying you know you're an ET because somebody told it to you. They just confirmed and validated it, and it's a different kind of a knowing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not because somebody
that's what I'm here to learn.
I had to be validated. Yeah, I had to be validated because I'm thinking,
well, how did and then what was that? What was the validation?
The people telling me. And
yeah,
then
these other people coming to say, like for me, it was reading in words from a Pleiadian book saying, this is who you are, this is why you are here. And because I didn't initially know that term even in the beginning, but then it's explained to you.
Yes.
Okay.
I didn't know what Akashic record was when somebody first told me, all the Akashic records. Because when I talk, I can actually see film strips of your previous lives, of everything that happened. If somebody was stabbing you in the back, I could see it. You know, and I found a lot of things about myself. I wondered why I always liked bars around. I don't even drink. Well, in a previous life, I was a raising alcoholic, you know, and I can, you know, now it's more and more of the puzzle that you start getting, and it starts just making sense. It becomes a part of you.
Well, that's something I think we want to dig into. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, in my example, I just want to share this with Sherry, is I was looking at some early photographs of when I was 18, and I have a shirt on that has pyramids, and I've been drawing pyramids all my life. I've had pyramids. I have A System Architect as my company. I use pyramids in that. Everything about me is about pyramids, and I don't know why, but it started making sense, a little more sense, when I started working with Tom on this. And, I mean, I can show you all these pyramid drawings, all this stuff. I'm doodling pyramids as we speak. I have pyramids right on the paper.
Yeah, you're totally a past life person
previous
who was in that time.
I agree with Susan.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah. What is your impression of me? This is Tom. Where do you think I fit into this? I'd be curious.
Me or Sherry?
Either one. I don't care.
I told you you're definitely ET, that you just have veils, that you're doing the work without knowing why you're doing it.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get to. So, yeah.
I totally agree with that, too. Believe me. Well, okay, don't believe me.
You are full speed ahead doing the work without understanding what's driving you. You are full speed ahead doing the work.
Yes.
In fact, I had this conversation.
You heard it from her, and I validated that by saying we're all ETs. It's just percentages. Some of us are higher percentage than
I can accept that.
Tim.
Yeah.
Tim. Yeah. I'm trying to get in. I'm trying to let them speak. So So Sherry, I didn't know if you had a kind of a specific idea in mind or any little bit more information. So I'm trying to kind of get that, if you have that.
For what's coming next?
No, I mean about what you said, that you see certain ET influence, and I'm trying to say, okay, well, maybe elaborate a little bit more about that.
For yourself?
For myself, yeah. I'm actually curious. Yeah, I'm absolutely curious.
On a personal level, okay.
I actually think so, and I that is something I do believe, but I don't know how to quantify.
I'm going to ask that girl, though. I told you on Sunday. I'm going to ask her.
Okay, absolutely.
And see what you get. And I would like to teach you to get your own answer on that by getting your yeses and nos. I don't know if you can do that by pendulum swinging your body yet.
I can show you, Tom. I can show you how to do that. But basically, it's standing up.
Teaching. And then teaching the quantifying, the getting the numbers so he can find that for himself. Because I get that you're a pretty high percentage of ET.
But you want to know something I got new, though, the other day when I drove left to go escape the hurricanes, and on my way back, driving through from North Carolina back down here in Florida, I was told, because I wrote a book called Wild Edibles for Survival and First Aid about the plants in Florida, what you could eat in a short-term emergency.
Everybody should know it.
Yeah, if we had no power, that kind of thing. So I was told, though, driving back, that Florida, we are living in the past now. And that I think I alluded to that before, that I came back from the future. We've come back from the future to correct the past. But on this drive back, though, I was told, this is the past. Florida is a memory, was the phrase I was told. Florida is just a memory. It is already underwater. And what my assignment was to come back in the past to catalog the plants here that are of importance so people could know what was Florida like. What was it before it was underwater? What plants were there? And so we're living in a memory now. Florida is already underwater.
Wow.
And Awakening Awareness, and that's Kastara, a friend of mine. She's from England, PhD, those kind of things. And her assignment this lifetime was to turn Darth Vader. There is a real Darth Vader around in this lifetime, and she accomplished that. But her website is Awakening Awareness, and she will show you what the Earth is supposed to be like. And she's had this on her website since the year 2000. And it shows Florida underwater and part of Texas and part of East and West Coast and England. And, so you might want to check out that website for fun.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this was really cool, though, to hear that. I never heard that I'm living in a memory
Oh, wow.
of Florida.
Yeah.
That word, memory.
I wonder if you could save any of those, because I understand, too, the arc.
The plants, you mean?
Yeah, the plants.
Well, I did take seeds last season. I took seeds of the most important plants last season because there's just these weeds that grow everywhere, and people were like, do you have any seeds of that? When I do these wildlife shows. And so I collected a bunch before I pulled them out last season, and now I'm like looking at my collection going, this isn't for these people. This is for me to transplant when I move, because I kind of feel like we might only have a year left in Florida.
It's kind of funny when Susan's kind of giving a tour of the plants. She's like, and by the way, that plant you just stepped on has got some of the highest nutrients, one of the most important plants. I'm like, oh my God. And then I step another way. She's like, don't step on that one either, because that's another one that's good. I'm like,
lack of knowledge. I have a lot of that myself.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so those are the kind of like current day things. But a lot of the things I had been assigned to do, which were teaching people how to grow their own food organically and teaching people how to detox using herbs and how to eat cleaner, higher vibration food so that they could get the communication themselves directly instead of having to rely on other people who are getting it.
Right.
But all that time has passed now. I'm through with all of those assignments. So now I'm like, okay, well, what's next? And we're just on the precipice of this whole thing. It's like the ship on the bottom of the ocean that's about to go over the cliff into deeper, deeper, deeper waters. You know how there's like a relic ship that they're like trying to preserve everything in it before it goes over the edge of the cliff? In the bottom of the ocean, I'm talking. That's where we're at right now.
And I understand the Ark was a submarine, not just a boat above water.
Right, right.
Are you ladies familiar? Are you ladies familiar with the Raelians? It's R-A-E-L. Now, according to their story, the Noah's Ark was a DNA ship that had DNA patterns of everything on the planet
DNA
before the flood.
Seeds,
that's what they say it was.
Animals.
And see, this is the thing is I've heard different accounts of this.
It was a seed bank.
You said, Sherry says it was a submarine. These folks said it was an orbiting spacecraft of some kind. So this is when we talk about getting corrupted inputs. Where's the real truth? Was it a submarine?
Well, how could you get a submarine if it wasn't an ET and part of?
Well, yeah, it could have been a submarine, but then again, why did someone else say it was an orbiting spacecraft? So these are the fuzzy details. Both stories could be true, maybe both, neither one. That's where we're at. We're not trying to be
Wait. Are you talking about how did they avoid the flood with an orbiting spacecraft versus a submarine?
The Raelians say that it was an orbiting spacecraft. Sherry says that her account is that it was a submarine,
if you read
an ET submarine.
There's cuneiform tablets that Zacharias Sitchin translated that were buried underneath the Mesopotamian lands, like 20,000 of them. And he tells the story of what happened then that they recorded. And what it says is it was a submarine that they were told to, they told Noah, who was actually a pure hybrid from the ETs that came, the Anunnaki at that time. He was like somebody who hadn't been contaminated by mating with the original Earthlings. He was still purebred. That's why the bloodlines are so important with royalty, because it's so important to them to preserve as much pure ET DNA as possible.
Right.
But anyway, that's a long story. And at the time, though, when the Noah's Ark thing happened, they left the Earth in spaceships and rockets. The Anunnaki who were here, they left. So maybe that's where that part about the spaceships is. And they watched the flood from above the air, but on the bottom there was Noah and his little team of, Earthling combo people, his family, who survived, on land. And in the story with Zachary Sitchin, the ones who were above the Anunnaki watching from space, crying that their creations had been destroyed, that the flood which they didn't cause the flood, it was Planet X coming by and pulling the Antarctic ice into the water.
Right. Et cetera, et cetera.
They watched and they were crying, and then they didn't know that one of them, Enki, had actually preserved these people in the submarine. So maybe they're saying it because they were that part that was watching the Earth versus the ones who were actually in the submarine.
I think their story is a little bit suspect. They have created kind of an ET religion out of it, marrying the ancient Judeo-Christian narrative with their own ET translation of what really happened. So, and this guy, Claude Vorhelian, that runs the whole thing, he's kind of created himself into a little pope of this organization. And for me, it's just, it's quirky.
So you know, the thing about David Wilcock and Corey Goode, like I sometimes, listen to David Wilcock a little bit just to see, very
see what's going on.
They never want me to listen to him. They never want me to listen to Corey Goode or him ever. They just don't. And I'm not saying that they don't have valid information. They just don't want me getting involved with that because they're giving it to me direct themselves, what they want me focusing on.
No kidding.
Right.
Well, did they have a sense that it was wrong information or tainted or they just didn't want you getting sidetracked?
They just don't. It just has nothing to do with my relationship with them and what they're working on. That's what they're saying. It has nothing to do with us. And I don't know anything about it. I can't say it's true or not true. I mean,
yeah, we're kind of in the same boat though, because it's kind of like for Tom and us. We were kind of saying, well, we didn't get a seat at that table. Let's just set up our own table. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're setting our own table.
I've heard some things that there's different races involved. Some of them aren't good, and I've heard some things about how they did things with Corey Goode and they deceived him and made him feel like it was real, and who knows? There's all those
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Mind.
Yeah,
so we got enough on our own plate. Yeah.
Yeah, I would never get my information through a human like that. I just get it direct from them.
Exactly. That's what we're all about.
Everybody put any person. We're all divine, so don't ever put anybody on a pedestal. God,
Sherry?
Take what you want and leave the rest. But yeah.
Exactly.
Sherry, can I share a meditation that I had? One of my first real contact meditations.
Sure.
Okay, it's real quick because I know we want to kind of be mindful of the time. So I was telling Tom about this a couple months ago that I went into my meditation and I started seeing kind of like an orange molten kind of color forming, and that color faded away into, I felt like I was swimming in like water, and I came upon a glass jar, and in the glass jar was my face submerged in water, completely in a liquid, I guess, with electrodes kind of touching my head, and I was asleep. And I remember swimming up to this glass jar and banging on the glass jar. And if you know underwater, if you try to bang on things, you really don't get a very good sound. But I'm banging on this jar saying, wake up, wake up. And it was at that point that I was like, holy crap, this is real. This was something I could connect with and touch and accept as it's either the best mind job somebody's given me, or it was crystal clear. There was no fuzziness to any of it. I was just amazed. So
that's really cool. That is so cool. That is totally like an actual, I look at that as an actual and metaphor for what they're saying now is wake up. It's time to wake up. And that's their whole
Well, it was real for me. This wasn't showbiz or anything like that. I mean, this was way before I ever agreed to be
you're in a box, or however you're saying, a glass container, and they're just all around you, and it's literally like that. Like, wake up now.
And you know where it came from? The day before, I had listened to that show with the guy that... No, Deeper Waters. And this guy was talking about how to meditate and things. And he had mentioned that it's not about you looking out into the universe. It's about you in the universe looking back at this particular context and seeing yourself as the universe sees you. So I was like, yeah, I totally get that. And then the next day I had this crystal clear meditation. It was like, wow, it really worked. I was like, holy cow. So that was really energizing for me. It was really transformative. And that's why I believe a lot of this is where I need to be right now, and that it is real. All I'm asking is that as people come into our space, we allow ourselves the ability to discern that space. We need to make sure that we're not contacting someone who's trying to deceive us, just like you were just mentioning with other people. So we're trying to be very mindful and be very perceptive and be discerning and making sure that we don't dilute our message with messages that should not be a part of our message. I guess that's what I'm saying.
And I can also tell... Oh, go ahead, Sherry.
Go ahead, Sherry.
If you don't get edification and honor from a person, they need to go out of your life immediately.
I like that.
You have to edify you.
Well,
like
I hope we can edify you. Let her go. Let her talk. I'm sorry.
That's all.
I was going to say, though, like in my experience, which my experience has been going on 25 years now, is that I don't talk about this with hardly anybody. And so when I'm having a conversation like we're doing with you and creating these calls now and your website, I mean, that is humongous because I never talk about that. Like Sherry said, she never talks about it. You know, wow. We just happen to connect. But for you to be having a conversation, I'll just speak with me because they work directly, you know, and I'm not saying anything about what Sherry's experience. I'm just talking about mine. Because they only work with me, you know, we're always one-on-one all the time. That's all it ever usually is. They tell me to teach people, but I don't talk about why I'm teaching them or how, you know, what's motivating me. And for us to be openly, blatantly telling you all this stuff and having a direct conversation that's being recorded and broadcast, I mean, that is huge in their world because if they didn't want me to talk to you, my throat would be swollen and clogged up right now. And they make it hard for me to breathe when I'm not supposed to talk. They make it really hard for me to breathe.
No, we believe we're supposed to put ourselves out there. So we're hanging on by a very thin thread right now, believe me. In terms of the more I put myself out there, the more I turn my back on my income.
I think in all fairness, I want to say something, Tim, and that is I think the thread is thinner for you than it is for me. I've had so many little cosmic adventures in my life. A lot of little symbols and things have happened in my life that
I agree.
We go on for a number of hours about all that, but it's said all that to say this. I think the thread is thinner for you than it is for me, and what you're welcome to the party, but you got to understand the hard edge of disbelief does set up a bit of a wall between the very people you want to contact and yourself. And so they're not saying you've got to become a master yogi and go live in Nepal in the mountains. They're not asking for that. But they are asking you're going to have to keep your gun in its holster, preferably back in the house. Don't bring your gun. Come
I hope
a little bit softer, a little bit less edge, I think is what they're trying to tell you. So
suspend disbelief.
And see, and that's part of the damage that religion has done to Tim and I. And I've gone beyond that. I've said, okay, there is something bigger in the universe. I don't know what it is, but I'm not going to believe the little things that I was told as a child on these religions. None of that made sense to me for years. I kept trying to accommodate people.
I'm the same way, Tom. You know,
I mean, you have a little bit harder edge on this. I'm just trying to say this, and
that's not a hard edge.
That was actually one of the first things they had me do when my walk-in thing first began, because I was Catholic at the time. That was the first thing they had me do, was show me Catholics were wrong, and we went through different churches, and they showed me all the religions and who,
right.
You know, that
yes, and Tom and I have been through that.
Yeah. So that was the first thing they showed me. These are man-made. These are not from us.
Right. Right, exactly. So we're both there, but I'm just saying I want you folks to know that Tim is still a little bit more of a harder skeptic than I am. And
but I'm the guy. Am I on mute or not? Okay, I'm on. I'm a guy like a lot of people out there who are so ready for this to manifest itself in such a way that it cannot be denied. That's what I think I'm ultimately asking.
I'm calling on that. Like, come on, let's just get this show on the road. Like, I mean,
exactly.
my whole family's that way. No, they're like, oh yeah, sure. You know.
Here's a thought that occurred to me, and I alluded to this in that book. And Sherry, I wanted to let you know. I'll send you a PDF of the book I wrote. It was about 4 years ago. It's a parable about disclosure. It's a parable about a friendly race that comes to help mankind get its act together. Anyway, I'll send you a PDF, and then you can read it whenever you want. And if you know,
and when you say that, I was told that I was supposed to do an exchange with you. So if you're giving me a book, that I should be clearing your Akashic records. So think about that, and you can let me know when you have time to process it, whether or not.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to make sure I want to say is because the doubting Thomas is more like me. So I used to confront people because I was used to in the galactic wars, and I'm just going to confront this. I want to get over it. And somebody graciously told me, Sherry, how about it instead of confronting, use the word clarify. So if you're having those feelings of the doubting Thomas, just keep gathering information. So clarify.
That's a great idea. I like that.
I like that too. And I also want to just say one thing for the record too. I don't mean to be confrontational, and I don't mean to be skeptical. You will never find somebody more willing to trust than me. And I think that I want, and I know that I want, to trust others that are a part of this equation. All I'm asking is that you allow us to be discerning, allow us to come to the truth naturally. And if it comes a little bit slower for me, I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry I'm a bit have a bit more.
I need some time to process it. We'll honor that.
Yeah.
You don't have
I
to
really have an
apologize
open heart.
at all. It's just the tone. Now you're speaking their language right now. You're doing great.
Okay.
It was just, you know, and we don't
Absolutely.
have to go over that every phone
with
call.
A nice pink blanket. Or blue, whichever you prefer.
Well, see, I think that's what this whole thing is about, is communication. So as we learn how to communicate and try to trust each other. So I want so desperately to trust you, and I hope we'll get there. That's all I'm asking.
I think this is a great one, though, to put on your website, this whole phone call, just because, so we can get that conversation out once and for all and just be done with, you know, so people can, you can title it that for skeptics who want to hear, you know, how we process this conversation, you know, something to let them know. We're not going to talk about this every phone call, but here it is if you want to hear how we discuss.
I think I agree, and I don't mind being the bad guy for this phone call. You know, I don't mind being the skeptic.
I think
for
we
this
should
phone
hold
call.
it. I think this is a kind of a family moment. I don't think I really want to take it out to the web.
I agree.
Okay, I think there's some, Tim, you were kind of
I don't mind either way.
Yeah, you were expressing some valid frustration.
Well,
but I don't
hold
think
on to it, though. If it comes up later that people want, if people start bringing up the same issue, then post it later on then.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. Controlled release. It's a controlled release. There you go. So, yeah, and I just really appreciate you coming on today, Sherry, just to talk with us.
Same here.
I have learned a lot. Like this whole concept of parallel lives, I'm still kind of thinking about that. I'm like, wow, yet another wrinkle in this whole thing. So,
we should be able to get what the bleep, and there's one past that too after what the bleep, but that'll give you some. And it has
somebody else mentioned that. Somebody else mentioned that movie. I do want to check that out. I need to. I know I've heard of it, and I had not had a chance. I'll take a look at that today. So, but
and
again,
one other thing that helps is if you get a notebook. Like I was told right in the beginning, get a 5-subject notebook. And meanwhile, I've written about 20 of them now. 5 subjects.
Wow.
So don't just get a 1 subject. Get a 5 subject if you really want to start your own communication. And every time you have doubts or you're like, is this person real? You know, can I really believe this? Just start communicating on paper to them, and they will like give you answers in your sleep.
Great idea.
You know, and you know what, Susan? I want you to bring this up. I want you to bring this up Sunday at some point. Save that as a nugget. You're going to find the right moment to bring it up. But I want her to bring it up again on the call. And again, Sherry, don't be shy talking to Robert. I basically Tim and I are of a mind that we call ourselves the ushers. We want to let people into the big tent and let the people that have, I see you as having a mentorial relationship with this whole process. So I'm more than happy. If you feel something you need to say Sunday, chime right in. I'm more happy to sit back and learn, be honest, quite honest. I'm going to do an intro.
I'm the same way.
Do the same thing. Yeah, we're going to do an intro, but I really want you and Robert and Susan, I want you guys to have that free flow.
Have the table. We're just going to sit at the table and listen, and I really appreciate you loving me when I don't come off loving, and I think that's huge. So I appreciate that.
We're all not loving every day. It's percentages.
Well, maybe I'm loving
that we're out of balance some days.
It might be a different kind of love. I was telling Tom about this, that maybe, all we're asking for, we know this is going on the timeline. So we feel, at least I feel, that I don't think you would respect me if I wasn't somewhat discerning. So I hope you'll just see in the love of that I am trying to be discerning to keep the respect high.
Just be talking like you are now. That's the way to do it.
There you go. Thank you, Coach. That was awesome.
I like chatting with
you. You will find over time, Tom will validate this. I have a huge
I'm sure
sense of
he
humor.
has the role that he described. I'm sure that is your role.
Yeah, you will see that I have a great sense of humor. I do have a lot of love in me. I just am somewhat protective of Tom, and maybe that came across in this phone call, and I apologize if I came off as
you know what? I want to
protector.
listen to this phone call, though, so can you send me the link?
Absolutely. It's not very big. I'll get you a link. I'll put it up on Google or whatever, and you guys can download it. I'm more than happy.
Yeah.
You guys can have it. Yeah, because I learned something today. I want that on the record.
And you'll hear, Tim, you'll hear the difference in your tone, what I'm talking about. If you re-listen to this, you'll hear that one little part.
You will not want it on the web. Trust me. You won't want it on the web.
No, but I want you to, I think...
You know what? I'm all out there. I don't care if you put it on the web. I'm just me.
Yeah, I don't care either. You have to be be with this. And
I have to be me right now, because
it.
if there is a timeline and I do change, yes, this is a marker, and I'm not ashamed of. I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah, I just put things out. I say put things out because that's real. That's real, not censoring it.
I think people want reality. That's like the song I told Tom about. It's from Dishwalla that just came out. Their album this year. They haven't had an album in 10 years.
I have
two of the latest Dishwalla album has 2 songs on it, Miles Away and Sirens. Sirens is track number 1. We can't play it on the air because then it'll affect how our other stuff is monetizing with YouTube. So I hate to say that, but that's just the truth. The copyright stuff is so strict.
No, we're going to actually, I wanted you ladies to know, we're going to do a pre-show. And what we do is we're going to go ahead and play a playlist. And Tim, we can go ahead and play that. Or if you ladies have other music you want us to put out, that's, I don't care. It could be meditation music. I have some awesome meditation music. We're going to put a little music out there beforehand. And then what we do is that music can't monetize on YouTube. So we have to cut the stream, and then we turn it back on again, and it creates 2 different videos on YouTube. One will be one that is strictly the interview. And so we're going to go on the air, I guess maybe, 15, 20 minutes. You'll hear music. And that's really to kind of get people's attention. And then we're going to stop the stream and start it again right on the top of the hour. And then you guys will be on, and we'll have Robert on. And I think it's going to be a good time. I am really looking forward to hearing all of you interact together. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So
I just want to say again, though, I really do think you should just post this now, like in current present time, and not hold it back. When I wrote my diary in the beginning, I was like thinking I was going to edit it, and they were like, okay, now publish that.
Here's what we'll do.
I was like,
I'll get everybody a copy. I'll get everybody a copy, and if you all feel agreed that you want it to go out,
I want it to go out. I don't need a copy. I don't want to hear it again. I don't need to hear it again.
And what about you, Sherry?
I'm okay with you doing whatever your guides tell you to do.
I just have the best of intentions.
No, that's how they are, though. They're like, no, we want it raw. We want it raw. We want it real. We don't want it
the raw Tim.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sorry if I have an edge.
Thank you, Susan, for pulling this together.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness, absolutely.